what I love about Julianne Moore, just doing some research on her, I love that she's a natural redhead for one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Represent
Not me personally, but I don't know.
me, I guess. A little bit.
You a former redhead. How did you feel for the representation?
Feels good.
Great. What was my point? Oh, what was I even gonna say?
I don't know. You're like, she's a natural redhead.
That's what I like most.
It has to be mentioned.
Not that she's like an Oscar-winning, like super talented actor. It's because she's a redhead,
Yeah, work.
But she just pops up in different films. And what I was going to say, I loved that Julianne Moore is a late bloomer. Like she didn't know how to drive. She didn't really start acting until she was in her late 20s, and her first feature film was when she was 30. And I just think it's really cool to see like an adult on screen. We don't really have those anymore. Like, I don't know if Hollywood's gotten more ageist or something, but
like
I love
breakout adult.
Yes. Or like I don't think I know Sean Baker when he was promoting Anora talked about this, but we don't really have a lot of adult films these days. So it's really like nice that we just got to sit down and watch adult films. Not those kind of adult films.
Boogie Nights tackles that. The adult film industry.
Yes. Well, you want to
get what you're saying. Yeah.
Hey, it's Nikki.
And it's Brie. And we're Late to the Party, a podcast about the film, fashion, and pop culture moments that shaped us into the weirdos that we are.
And today we're discussing our favorite actress and redhead Oscar-winning actor, Julianne Moore. Just a little backstory on Julianne Moore so we can get fully into it. Julianne Moore, she has a remarkable filmography that encapsulates a spectrum of genres, showcasing her exceptional talent and versatility from her breakout role in Boogie Nights in 1997 to her Academy Award-winning performance in Still Alice. Moore has consistently delivered emotionally resonant characters. Her collaborations with acclaimed directors in film like Todd Haynes in Far From Heaven and Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia have solidified her status as an influential figure. Moore's captivating presence extends to diverse projects like May December, the charming Crazy Stupid Love, the cult classic The Big Lebowski, and her role in blockbuster The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 if you're nasty. With over 3 decades in the industry, Julianne Moore remains a cinematic force to be reckoned with. And that is a little bit about Julianne Moore from Wikipedia.
That's right. She is a force to be reckoned with. Recognized. Period.
So Brie.
Yeah.
Before we did a deep dive on her filmography, what was your relationship to Julianne Moore in like her films?
I feel like, well, honestly, her as an actor, I feel like I've always had like a strong like attachment to, but I can't really say I've seen a lot of things that I could remember her being in. Like I think I've seen more movies like before we decided to do this episode on her. I think I've seen more movies where she's more like a side character. Except for one movie that sticks out, The Forgotten. I don't know why that movie, like I saw it like a long time ago, just like on a DVD, and she's the main character, so I was like kind of captivated. But other than that, I'm trying to think. Like she's just been in so many projects, I feel. I don't even remember her in the Hunger Games, to be honest. When I saw that, I was like, wait, she's in the Hunger Games?
I know, same. I mean, to be fair, I've only seen Mockingjay Part 1. I haven't seen Part 2. So
yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, Julianne Moore is such an interesting actor because like you said, like she has 3 decades worth of performances at this point. And I've seen her in things as I feel like she is a character actor and like a real genre actor. And yeah, before this, I saw Crazy Stupid Love back in the day, and maybe that's what I knew her from. So it's funny that we're like we have like very B-cut Julianne Moore experiences, but
right. Love that though.
I do too. I also remember her winning the Oscar in 2015 for Still Alice.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I had not seen that movie at the time though,
I had not
but
either. I just remember the win.
yeah, she definitely deserved it, I think. It's a real
Yeah.
emotional one.
Yeah. Still Alice.
Hmm.
Her performance is so real. I think Julianne Moore does that really well. Something about her is like really vulnerable. And I don't know, that's what I'm always like struck by. And because we've gotten to see now like a lot of her work over time. And like the one thing is her vulnerability.
Yeah, and she does a lot of times I feel like she plays similar characters like in the way that a lot of these women have secrets that they're trying to hold and then they have like these like breakdowns, like a dramatic breakdown later on in the
Oh yeah.
film. Like I feel like that's kind of like a almost every character she plays has like a similar arc.
I
I
think
don't
so
know. I
too.
think that's interesting.
I didn't realize she's played a lot of housewives.
Yeah, that's very I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting because even in like the kids are all right.
Mm-hmm.
She plays like a lesbian woman who's married, and she's still kind of the housewife in that relationship. She's like, I gave
100%.
up my career to raise the kids, and I'm like, what is she always in this position? Like that's wild, but it's
Definitely.
interesting to note.
Yeah, it's always like she's harboring so many feelings. She does a really good job of conveying that with like a look, you know.
Yeah, she has so much going on behind her eyes.
Definitely. But yeah, out of all the films that you watched, what are your favorite Julianne Moore films?
I would say probably still Alice and wait, hold on now, because I'm like, wait, May December is so good. Well, I mean, definitely the hours. I feel like I have to mention the hours. And Far From Heaven was really good. I really enjoyed that. I love any time that she gets to be the main character
Mm-hmm.
of the film. Like I love like some of these films like that we ended up watching, like Magnolia. I enjoyed that as a film, but I feel like I wanted more,
You
you know?
always want more and more.
I do. But yeah, I feel like so like probably Far From Heaven, Still Alice, The Hours, May December. I like when she can be dramatic and I don't know.
She
What about
plays
you?
she plays melodramatic roles really well. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a The Hours stan, and I thought her performance in that was great, like for years now. So I feel like finally getting to see Far From Heaven, and I'm already such a huge fan of Todd Haynes, anyways, and like new
Yes.
queer cinema, and I love like Haynes's role in that, and like how Julianne Moore oddly plays a like she has a presence in new queer cinema. I think that's really interesting. Um, but like Far From Heaven is her performance in The Hours, but she is the main character and you get to see this
Yes.
that Far From Heaven is a perfect film. I think sometimes like for me, Still Alice, her performance is amazing and Oscar worthy, and like I totally, you know, I was captivated by her performance, but I didn't love the film.
Is it Alec
And
Baldwin? Is it the Alec Baldwin of it all?
uh yeah, a little bit. It was
Takes you
just
out a little.
okay, no. Okay, if I'm being really honest, Still Alice, Julianne Moore is giving like the goods. She's giving an
Hmm.
Oscar winning performance in a movie that, because Hunter Parrish is the son and Alec Baldwin's the dad, and it's like filmed like it's complicated. It's
Yes, I kept
complicated.
thinking that too. I'm like, oh no. As soon as I saw Alec Baldwin up there, like in the first, I think he's in like one of the first scenes, I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure, early on. And then I'm like, he's her husband? I just couldn't, it was hard to get past that because it just, I'm like, this just feels too romantic comedy. Like I just associate him with those kind of films and he kind of plays the same kind of guy in a
Yeah.
way, you know? And so it's kind of like frustrating. And then I'm like, oh, and then K Stu, at first I thought that like I know we're here to talk about Julianne Moore, but I have to mention Case too, especially because we just saw Spencer
Mhm.
last week. She actually did a really good job. I thought they had some kind of on-screen chemistry, like a mother-daughter chemistry that made sense. So
100%.
I did enjoy that. But yeah, everything else, I'm like, her
Yeah,
performance was the main thing in that film for sure.
definitely. And I just think Far From Heaven's a perfect film. like top to bottom, like no notes. I was blown away. That was the film out of all of this. I was like, I wish I'd seen it sooner because
Yeah,
everything is just perfect from her performance to all the colors and like how it's like trying to look like Technicolor and the text and the subtext and
I
you
loved
know,
that. Yeah, like even the title cards at the beginning and the end, how they looked like very like they were in the 1950s.
yes, and like actually exploring what it would be like to be in the 1950s. It's not all like
Yeah, it's not
easy
like
homemaker.
yeah, it made me think too, like how people idealize the aesthetic so much, which I mean, like, yeah, the aesthetic is kind of cool, but like the reality is like, you know how people are like, I want to go back to the 50s. It's like, no, you don't. Like,
Yeah,
no. That film really emphasizes that. Like, let's not go
definitely.
back there.
Yeah, it's just totally repressive.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
yeah,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I agree. It's like perfect. And I just love when Julianne Moore and Todd Haynes collaborate.
Yeah,
And I think aren't they collaborating? Are they collaborating again on something?
I hope
Am I
so.
crazy?
I mean, they just did May December last year in
Yeah.
2023, which I also love May December. I like you said, I love when Todd Haynes and Julianne Moore work together because it really feels like they are creative soulmates
Yeah.
and they just bring out the best in each other. Like you know, Todd Haynes, I have to be honest, I've only seen the Julianne Moores and I've seen Carol. And, Todd Haynes is a fantastic director who can work with a
Wait,
lot of actors.
do you say you've seen Carol?
Yeah.
You saw the movie Carol?
Mhm.
What did you think? Sorry. I
I
just have
love
to ask.
Carol.
When did
Yeah.
you see it? Recently?
Recently, because I went on a kick lately with my iPad.
Uh-huh.
I'm into watching films on my iPad,
Yeah, same.
particularly because my husband's gotten into football. So I love
Oh.
really this plugging it in and using my long hair to kind of just check
Pretend
out.
like you're still listening.
Yeah, to be honest, low key.
Yeah, same. I dig
But
it.
also Carol's on Netflix. So it was
Uh,
like it was a little easier to get to. But like once I saw Far From Heaven and once I saw The Kids Are All Right, I've just been like on
mhm.
a movie kick on my
Same.
iPad. That's
Yeah, no, I've
like,
watched everything on my iPad. It's been a comfort, honestly.
yeah. I feel we need to do an episode on Carol to like get into it.
Fully unpack. Yeah, I agree. Because Kate Blanchett, she's another one that's really great. She gets her flowers though, I feel. And I think
She
Julianne Moore
does.
has gotten her flowers, but I feel like for a while I was feeling like she maybe didn't. I don't know.
I it seems like Julianne Moore's been a slow burn. Like in the 90s,
Hmm.
she starred in a soap opera, and then from there, kind of like I said before, she didn't star in her theatrical debut until she was 30. So
Yeah, which
I
I
think
looked
she's
into
just been
some of
working.
her soap opera work.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
I
she
don't know if
plays
you've
like
seen it.
evil twins, like a British evil
Yes,
twin. Yeah.
yes, it's very like The Parent Trap, but like all grown up. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
I
Like,
think that's why she can play melodrama so well. I think
yeah,
she
all that
understands that.
practice,
Yeah.
the two sides. She like plays her evil twin. That's hilarious. She also starred alongside Marissa Tomei, apparently.
And Crazy Stupid Love. Oh
Oh,
wait,
I was
and
gonna say in soap operas. Like that's how they got their start, but that's crazy that also because I haven't seen Crazy Stupid Love. I didn't
oh,
realize
it's
that
cute.
that's both of them. Yeah. They
Oh
go
my
way
god.
back.
Well, aren't they also genetic cousins? Like
No
in
way.
Find Your
Really?
Roots? Yeah, they're genetic cousins.
Oh, that's so cool. Good for them.
I love that about an actor. Well, what I really admire about Julianne Moore is like she loves acting and the craft of acting. And it seems like she's like willing to do the big projects. Like she was in the second Jurassic Park and she was in like the Hunger Games and like so she'll do blockbuster films, but like she respected Todd Haynes early on, and they've like worked together. And Paul Thomas Anderson, like she worked with him in the late 90s on Boogie Nights and Magnolia. And like it seems like she has her ride or dies, especially with Todd Haynes, and she'll
Mm-hmm.
play any role in any part that really like resonates with her. And like
Yeah.
Still Alice is one of those case in points. It's like it's a very tonally odd film, but it's not like her fault. I understand why, but she's like down for the cause, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she does it for I guess
Yeah.
the art of acting. And then like I like how she takes certain like she'll work with certain directors or certain projects that are like a little more artsy and take risks, like not
Mhm.
always commercial, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think her most commercial work. Would it be Still Alice or The Kids Are All Right or
I
you
would
know?
say like
Or
I would say the blockbuster franchise, it's like the Hunger Games would be.
oh yeah, the Hunger. I keep forgetting. I know we just
Yeah.
mentioned it, but I'm like I'm like who is she? I heard she's like a official, not heard it, but I read she's like a one of the city officials, I think, right? I think.
Yeah,
I thought she'd be a mom or something, but
she was in the Capitol, right?
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't
It's been a
remember
long
this at
time.
all.
It's been a
But
while. And Crazy Stupid Love was really successful at the time. Like that's where we got all those Ryan Gosling feminist memes, I believe. Like that
oh,
was
it's
like
from that.
the heyday of
Hey
him.
girl.
You don't have to put any makeup on.
Remember when you got me that notebook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Real
It's fun.
big Ryan Gosling in the early 2010s was like a Urban Outfitters staple. So,
Hmm.
but probably that. Far From Heaven, The Hours, and The Kids Are All Right are my favorite Julianne Moore
Yeah.
films. Like I'm
Okay.
upset. I loved The Kids Are All Right. Like
Really? I
that's
want to
what.
hear your thoughts because I didn't really like
Oh,
that one.
wait,
I didn't
really?
hate
I
it.
loved it.
It's just I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to me, but
Oh,
and I don't know if do you want to unpack that
we
or
gotta unpack it now
okay.
because besides Far From Heaven, The Kids Are All Right's my favorite more. I love that film. So yeah, what didn't hit for you?
I think
What's your review?
I have mixed feelings on on Mark Ruffalo for onesies. Um, I at first because like when the movie starts, I'm like, ooh, he's kind of charming, and then I'm like, oh, he's kind of like a playa, you
That's
know?
what I love.
And I'm like, he tore apart this like gay marriage. Like, how dare he? I don't know. And then I'm like just confused. I did like the ending. I like when he gets told off. And they're
Yeah.
like, get a family of your own. Like, I thought that was kind of funny. And I did like Julianne Moore. Like, I liked her character. Like, it was kind of fun to see her play someone who's like more like, like not so uptight and
Mm-hmm.
kind of loosey goosey and hippy dippy because she's kind of like the chill one in the relationship instead of like being too micromanagey. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of her characters are just really like, which I guess she's still holding in something like her feelings. Like she's not getting what she needs, I guess, in that marriage at the time, or
Yeah.
so there's that. But I feel like they just, I don't know, maybe because I watched so many, I think maybe if I watched it earlier on in the viewing experience of these films, I might have a different take, but it was like fresh off of like Magnolia and what else? Just like the more serious films. So like it was just kind of a tone shift. So I don't know. But I'd love to know what you liked about it, and maybe I missed something.
Okay. Well, I love the film in general. Like, I thought it was it's not like super light, but I loved the family dynamics
Yeah,
I loved the chemistry between Annette Bening and Julianne Moore and Mark Ruffalo.
definitely.
I
Yeah.
love this like accidental love triangle of sorts. I thought that it was very realistic. I loved the children.
You would
I
love triangles, Nick.
It's hot.
Challengers. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, to be honest, I was like, this is hot. I don't know. But
No, it was.
I just thought Julianne Moore and Annette Bening had such amazing chemistry, and Mark Ruffalo's a
Yes.
hottie. And there's something about in this film, it's pure and wholesome in a lot of ways. Um, because the film's about two children that were born from artificial insemination, you know, so lesbian couple.
They each had a
And
baby. They were both pregnant with the same sperm donor.
yes, they picked the same sperm donor. And then on the 18th birthday, the kid seeks out Mark Ruffalo, her sperm donor daddy, and it
Her
kind of throws a wrench in
motorcycle
things.
riding.
Vroom, vroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like organic planting, motorcycle riding, like hippie man. Who,
Yeah.
speaking of America's Next Top Model, did you clock who the lady, the waitress that he's like having a fling with?
No, but I kept thinking she looked very familiar and she was very beautiful. And I'm like, do I know her from somewhere? Like she was
Yaya,
really pretty. Yaya.
who should
No,
have
wait, that's the
won.
same Yaya?
That's Yaya, who should
I
have
looked her
won
up, but I
season
didn't
three.
really. And
No,
I
that's
kept just like,
Yaya.
oh, oh wow.
So,
Good for
yeah.
her. Okay. Yeah, she looked
But
great.
I mean, beautiful. Should have won
And
season
she was
three.
she was good as an actor, I thought.
I thought so too. I wish we could have seen, or
More
maybe,
of her. Maybe.
maybe there could be more in the future. Yeah, yeah.
The kids are all right too. The kids are not all right, maybe.
Yes.
The kids are
Okay.
somewhat all right. They're okay.
They're mediocre.
It's just Mark Ruffalo coming back into their lives and making it messy
Again.
again.
What I loved about the film, and this isn't speaking to Julianne Moore's performance exactly, but I loved that, you know, halfway through the film, I'm really like like in a way I'm so attracted to Julianne Moore and Mark Ruffalo having this affair. I'm like
Mm.
into it. And then, you know, the movie progresses and we get to see it from Annette Bening's point of view and her realizing what's going on, and just at the end, that final scene when, or not final scene, but like one of the final scenes when she slams the door in Mark Ruffalo's face and she's like, "You're an interloper, get your own family."
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, I'm like, "Oh yeah, team Annette Bening. Team, I want Julianne
Definitely.
Moore and her to work out." Like it was like the spell was broken, and I thought that was genius. I was just with it every step of the
Do you
way.
think if it wasn't Mark Ruffalo, like it maybe would have played out different? Because there's something about him that's disarming, maybe. You know what I mean? Like that romantic comedy aspect to him where it's like you want to like him, so
Yeah,
it's hard to hate him.
I think so.
Even
I
when he
don't
does
know.
bad things. Like, I don't know. You're like, okay, get it.
True. I don't know. I just loved it. And I loved Annette
Yeah.
Bening.
It was
And
a fun romp.
yeah.
I think I was just expecting it to be more dramatic or I don't know why. I guess because all the other movies, yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
I
didn't hate
really
it.
enjoyed it.
I
Yeah.
liked the girl, I forget what her name was. She kind of to me looked like a young Claire Danes.
Mm-hmm.
She was good.
She was in like the Alice in Wonderland films. I remember her.
Yeah. I think I've seen her in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was good. And then there's that
Hutch,
kid that was PETA,
yeah.
Hunger Games again.
Josh Hutcherson. I loved
Josh
him. I
Hutcherson.
loved his role as just like the younger brother who was like following a weird dude around. I thought that scene
Yeah.
was hilarious
Oh gosh,
when they thought he was gay because they caught him watching their gay porn.
that was really fun. Actually, yeah, there's some good funny parts to that film. I think maybe I need to watch it when I'm not like in an emotional state.
Out of all of Julianne Moore's films, which one put you in the most emotional of states?
Probably still Alice. Like I kind of knew it was going to be one of those like I don't want to say it was like just a sob story, but you know what I mean? Like you're expecting to cry
Mhm.
already. So I'm like, "Oh, this isn't going to get me." But then it did because her performance, like she's just so good. And so anytime she would sob, I would sob. So it was just hard not to.
Yeah.
I feel like that one and Far From Heaven, probably those two got me the most.
I mean, Far From Heaven is such like a, well, perfect film, but still Alice, I think because of the backstory and knowing like the director, you know, wanted this, like when he was diagnosed with ALS, they were like, his partner was like, "What do you want to do?" And he was like, "I want to make a movie." And, you know, she wins the Oscar and he passes away. And that, you know, and her her role, Alice, is someone that like her life and her life's work is stuff from her memory and her
It's like
brain and like her
language and
mind.
communication.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
have it deteriorate right before her eyes and our eyes. It's like one of those films that, yeah, it's just so emotional because it's one of those things that can really like happen to anyone too. And I think she portrays that in a really real, nuanced way.
Yeah. I don't know. It got me. Got me good.
For me, Far From Heaven was the film that like it wasn't at like on the surface, like Still Alice was, it's obviously emotional,
Right.
but Far From Heaven is one of those films that just took my breath away, where I was like, oh, this is, I don't know how to word it. It's like, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot I feel like in that film that's unsaid. Like there's a lot of like context that you read into between her and oh man, what is that actor? I just think the Allstate man.
Yes, that's where he's from, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was excellent in it too.
He was. I was like, why haven't we seen him in more things? Or maybe he has been and I just know him as the Allstate man. Dennis Haysbert? Yeah. I feel like that's what he's made his living at, or like his like that's how we know him, like as an icon, like the Allstate man. Like you're in good hands.
He really is an icon, and I understand why Julianne Moore would be very attracted to him because in this film, she is in good hands.
She is in good hands. Yeah.
But the world wants to tear them apart. The world's so cruel. Like, I think this film, it plays with melodrama really well. And because of the performances, especially Julianne Moore's, like, because she never plays it with any irony, and everyone around her doesn't either. It's like super serious. You can kind of see the artificial elements in like Patricia Clarkson's character as her best friend.
Hmm.
Like, I knew that woman was gonna like not be there for her and
She
stab
was
her in
gonna
the back.
snitch. Yep. I did not
Totally.
trust her. She's like,
I
I'm your
didn't
best friend in
either.
the world.
And then
Yeah.
it was just crazy. It was crazy to get to that like climax and then be like, oh, okay, she understands on some level. It's so sad that her husband's gay, but
Right.
then she finds out that like she has feelings and she didn't even just she said slightly romantic feelings
Yeah, and
for
she makes it seem like it's a whole affair. Meanwhile, they've never really done anything. They went to like one bar or
and
restaurant,
they
like just
slow
that was it.
danced.
Yeah.
That was it.
And
But like
everyone was
the
hating on
hate,
him. Yeah.
so much hate.
The whole
And it was
town.
and they ruined that man's life. That little girl getting the rocks thrown at her.
That part was hard to watch. Like, I don't know. It was
It's
really
fucked
sad.
up. But it was also like crazy and I like knew it was going to happen, but the moment Patricia Clarkson was like, "Oh yeah, your husband can be gay. That's fine." But like you like a black man?
Mm.
Like she like shunned her in that moment. I was ready to just like go feral for
Yeah,
Julianne Moore.
it's crazy. It seems like she was the like Julianne Moore was the only person maybe of decency in that town. That town's very hateful.
Yeah.
Like where was that? Connecticut? It was somewhere in Connecticut.
Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, yeah, the Allstate man has to run away with his daughter to Baltimore because they were shunned by the town, all because of
Hmm.
like the interracial relationship with Julianne Moore. But Julianne Moore's character is the only person that treated anyone like a human. Everyone else was
Yeah.
just like keeping up with these 1950s illusions, just like
Yeah.
picture perfectness. Even Dennis Quaid's character, even though he's super gay, tries to repress it, tries to hold it in, tries to go to conversion therapy. And even
Hmm.
the therapist is like, I don't think it's gonna work. But even him, like he like spends so much time keeping this like illusion. And like even when he's like living his truth, they're like holed up in a hotel. So is he still gonna be living his truth? Or he was like so worried about his job that, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. We don't know what happens to him, and we kind of don't really care at a certain point
Mm-mm.
because we're so with Julianne Moore's character. I did feel a little conflicted at a certain point, though, just like you know, when she finds out he has these feelings and she's like, yeah, like she almost, I don't want to say she's like completely homophobic or something, but it was probably just the ideals at the time. Like she seemed like less open to like that situation, but maybe it could just be because she's been married to a man for a long time and is just not is having trouble maybe accepting that fact. Like, you know, because we see like I can't imagine like you have kids, you know what I mean? Like you're in the 50s.
Yeah.
What do you do? I don't know. It's wild. Like his arc is interesting, I think. But at the end of the day, I'm like, did he care? Like he seems to like prioritize work for sure. But you know, like as far as being like a family man, like his kids, he's kind of always pushing them away. So I wonder, I'm like, is he involved? Like I know we don't know what happens afterwards, but he
I
didn't seem to be
wonder.
too upset about the family being, you know, because it's like it sucks. Like okay, maybe you know he can't love her in the way she needs, but you know what does that mean for the family? Like he just seemed to be like, all right, I'm dipping out, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah. I think like at a certain point he definitely only cared about his wants and his needs
Yeah,
in that
and not
like
how it was affecting her. I guess she's kind of left to. I don't want to say clean up his mess. I don't know if that's harsh, but
I think she's left with a lot. Like even in the beginning of the film, there's a reporter that's interviewing her and she sees Raymond in the garden because his dad was their gardener and he like took over when he passed away. And we see him out in the yard and she's getting interviewed by the reporter and she's just like, who is that? And because she talks to him and because she's just like cordial to him and friendly, when like the reporter puts out their piece, they're like
mhm.
just they kind of like spin it
Yeah,
in a weird way. It's like her just being nice to someone. I mean, eventually she does like develop an attraction for him, you know, but
right. And
just
we know
any
that she's
little
done,
thing.
yeah, every little thing they're like watching her.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
expecting her to be
crazy.
perfect.
Well, because she also seems to have like a bit of an activist side, but it's like she can only go so far in this town, you
Yeah,
know,
they're
before
ready
they're
to
gonna throw
like
stones at her as well, it seems.
100%. Like they're just ready to do it, like just at the smallest thing. But it's all to keep that veneer of like a perfect like 1950s life. But I love when she plays a housewife that's just like unraveling and the illusions breaking.
Yeah,
Um,
that is my favorite. I don't know what it is.
yeah. And well, like to your point too, because Todd Haynes based Far From Heaven on like Douglas Sirk films. So it's supposed to be this very, yeah, like Douglas Sirkian, 1950s, like Hollywood film. And like you said, from
Hmm.
the title cards to, just the Technicolor,
I did enjoy
just
that element a lot, like the use
definitely.
of color.
And like artificiality is the point. So then when we get to see, especially Julianne Moore's performance, which is very like you can see in her face. This is what I love the most about her. It's like you can see her feelings and conflict, like internal conflict. You can see that through her eyes and her face in a way that I've never seen on screen before. It's
I
just
know.
crazy.
I mean, people talk about like Meryl Streep being the best actor, and I know that she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to like just compare people, but I feel like Julianne Moore is like right up there with her, you know?
100%. That's probably why I love The Kids Are All Right so much too. It's like you're getting Annette fucking Bening and Julianne Moore together
Yeah.
in like a film that can just be like a light romp, but then you get them together and it becomes they're real people.
Yeah.
And Far From Heaven is a film that like everything is artificial, and then you get Julianne Moore's performance, which is melodramatic and in everything, but like in all the good bits because she really understands that trope. So she just kind of like can run wild with it.
And speaking of like things being real, like in Far From Heaven, I feel like the relationship between her and Raymond is kind of almost the only real thing happening. Like they kind of see each other underneath all the artificiality. They just can't express it the way
Mm-hmm.
they both maybe want to, but are like good friends. Like they just make like kind of fast friends, but they're there's just like an unspoken thing between them where they have an understanding. It's moving and so
It
tragic
is.
at the same time. Like, I don't know.
I think because it all is so unspoken, that makes it like even more tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah. Why do
No
you think
notes.
no, it's a perfect film. Like if you like Julianne Moore's performance in The Hours and you're like, that's the best part of that film, see Far From Heaven. Like
Yeah.
that's
I did think it was funny, like at the beginning of like just to compare it to the hours. I was like, oh wait, is this like in reverse? Like, is she John C. Riley, you know?
right.
But you know.
Which speaking of John C. Riley, Magnolia, I watched for Julianne Moore's performance, and what I
Hmm.
came away with is like, oh, this is like, even though it's an ensemble cast, this is John C. Riley's moment to shine. This is his performance. This
I
is
thought
so
that too. I'm like, wow, we don't get to see him like really play like characters like this. Like he's always like the goofy guy, and he still is a little bit goofy, but it's just fun to see. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed his performance in that. I was surprised like when I found out Tom Cruise got like an award for his performance because he was like getting on my nerves in that film. Like, and he was playing
really.
that character too well. I thought I'm like, how, you know, it was just hard to like.
And see, I thought Tom Cruise, I was like, oh, because this is the first time seeing Magnolia. And forever, I've just heard about Tom Cruise's performance and how he should have won the Oscar for Magnolia. And this
I
was
thought
like
he
his
did.
only good film. He did not?
What did I read then? What?
No, I think
Oh,
I've
he was
always heard,
nominated. He was
yeah.
just nominated, I guess. Well, okay, that's all. I guess I misread it.
He won in my book because this
Yeah,
role is so grating and so like over the top, but because it's Tom Cruise and he's selling it so well, I'm just like, because he plays a pickup artist and I'm like, I love to see it. I love this Tom Cruise because in our lifetime we've seen him only play Mission Impossible in Tropic
that's
Thunder.
true.
The one risk we've ever seen in our lifetime Tom Cruise has ever taken acting wise is Tropic Thunder. So to see Tom, because I haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut yet, it's on the watch list. But
Hmm.
Magnolia was one of those films where I was like, I have to see it. I have to see Tom Cruise's performance, and I'm like, I like this risk because
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's because this is what I okay when he's doing the speeches when he's like grab the what is it? He doesn't say grab them by the pussy, but you might
Might
as
as
well.
well. Yeah,
Um, punt the
tame the
cunt,
cunt.
tame the
Yeah,
cunt. Yes,
that's what he's.
punt the cunt. I don't know. I just had a way more vibe.
Drop kick. He did say he would drop kick the dogs.
Yes, maybe that's where my wires got crossed. But um, have you ever seen that video on YouTube, Brie, of one of those like dinners for Scientology, like where Tom Cruise does like the big speech at the end and is like, I
No,
love
but I thought about his Scientology days because I'm like some of this is a little preachy because he has like booklets and everything. It started to feel like he had a little cult going on in
this
this
is
film.
his performance as the pickup artist in Magnolia is what I think those Scientology dinners are. Like this
I
is
know. And are you
yeah,
like sign me
I am. I'm like, sign me up. I love his little man pony
up? Okay, I was
and
gonna
leather
say
vest.
one positive thing I can say about him in this movie is his hairstyle's actually working for him. We don't get to see him with the long hair a lot. His
Mm-mm.
character is so grating. You know, I hated his character, but that man bun though.
Honestly, best he's ever looked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Uh,
totally. I thought that
the
one guy was good too. He looked a lot like Jack Black, but he was blonde.
ooh, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Anyway, I don't
Those
know
be
why I had to
fighting
shout him
words,
out.
Brie. People really
Why?
love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
What does that mean? Wait, what did I say? That he
He's
looks like
like
Jack
Jack
Black?
Black.
But he looks like him. I can't help that. Don't you think they have a resemblance?
I think so. I think, yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman was like,
A
yeah,
young Jack
maybe
Black.
he's like Jack Black in a different font.
Yeah, in a different font. That's
Yeah.
all.
I'm
I
just
don't think
playing.
Jack Black's butt ugly or anything.
Oh no. No, I just mean never mind. But I don't know. What did you think of Magnolia?
Actually enjoyed it. I feel like my ADD brain was entertained because there's so much. At first, I wasn't sure. I think my only notes are like, I don't know if I necessarily need the narration in the beginning or the showing of the other stories that don't really matter. Like, I know they're bookends,
Mhm.
but I'm kind of like, at first, I was confused and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like getting lost and I was like a little stressed. I'm like, oh, he's mentioning this story and that story. Am I gonna have to remember these people? And then they're like, nah, you don't have to remember that. That's just an example of how things can come together.
Yeah,
And
no, I know what you mean.
you know what I mean? Because I was like, oh my gosh, how many characters do I need to keep track of? But it really wasn't that many. And I enjoyed how they're like stories intertwined, even if it wasn't super directly. Like I really enjoyed the through line or the connection of like the whiz kid, like his story, and then the young boy who is like a boy genius on the game show, like how they're
Yeah.
kind of shows like two sides of that coin, how things can go. Um,
Yeah. Which
I
you
don't
know
know.
the game show kid is based on a story that Fiona Apple told Paul Thomas Anderson.
No. Is it a real story? Like a real
I
something that happened? Or like just like
which
that he was a boy genius or that he peed his pants?
oh, I don't know. I don't know. That was all the IMDb facts said, but I don't know.
Huh.
I just always think about that Fiona Apple quote when she's talking about how she stopped doing cocaine was because she was in a room with Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino on coke, and she was like, "This is like you feel about Tom Cruise's performance in Magnolia. You're like, this is a lot. I can't do this anymore." And that's when she
No.
stopped. Which
That's
this
how she
movie to
knew.
me, my review is essentially this film is just listening to Amy Mann and doing a bunch of coke. Like that
It
was
is.
what the movie is.
Yeah, it was a lot of Amy Man. Yeah.
Speaking of Oscars, I'm so surprised that this didn't win. Save Me didn't win for best original song at the Oscars. I think.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it was good. I will say it did take me out a bit though. Like when they sing, they are all singing the song at the end. Like that was a little much. Like I feel like that part, I was following everything and feel like the emotions. I'm like, okay. I thought it was a good comedy actually. I thought at least the first half was really funny. Like there's so many like little dialogues that were like really funny to me. And then like I thought it was interesting to see Julianne Moore play this kind of sugar baby role. And kind of like say curse words because I feel like we don't get to see her curse a lot.
Were you like
Like,
John
ooh,
C.
she's bad.
Riley? You were like, hey, foul language.
Hey, stop that fouling. Yeah, I did it a little bit. I was like, ooh,
No, I
but
loved it. I loved like just hearing Julianne Moore shriek.
yes, when she would just like yell, she's like, how dare you? At like the pharmacist, like just making a
Yes.
scene. Like I love to see her make a scene and be a little
That's like
unhinged.
that's a testament to Julianne Moore's acting and her performance. It's like she's not in this film, but like maybe 15 minutes. And the part where she's doing the monologue and yelling at the pharmacist is like one of the highlights of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I think of Magnolia, I'm like Raining Frogs, Amy Mann, cocaine, Tom Cruise, Julianne Moore yelling.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up.
So best film of all time?
Best Magnolia. I mean,
Yeah.
it's I don't know if it's like the best film of all time, but it's good enough. You know what I mean? Like it's entertaining. Like I would watch it again, and I'm surprised that I would say that because it's such a long film, and I was like initially I'm like, oh yeah, 3 something hours. I don't know. That seems like a lot. Like my mind's going to like The Godfather.
Yeah,
Like it's gonna be a whole ordeal. It's gonna have an intermission, but it kind of moves along surprisingly. I thought.
it does. It's one that I want to rewatch for sure.
Yeah, I want to see how they all like some of it. I wasn't sure, like all the symbolism. Like I feel like I missed some things, but I'm like, oh, that's okay.
It's one I need to sit with. Maybe that's why my mood is so weird because I spent like the greater portion of today watching Magnolia. I'm just like,
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
I'm trying to think. What haven't we covered?
Well, May December.
Oh,
Back
May
to
December.
Todd Haynes.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on May December? Also, just why do you think that Todd Haynes and Julianne Moore make such a good pairing?
I don't know. Maybe he just trusts her. I feel like he gives her a platform to just do what she does best, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. There must be a reason why he picks her, why certain directors work with certain actors, I would think, or vice versa.
Yeah. I think when I'm thinking about Todd Haynes' work, he likes to, especially with May December, just manipulate the genres and play with tone and genre in a specific way that I like. A lot of films that I'm familiar with seeing in the past 20 years, they are very post, I don't know how to
No,
word
I'm
it, but
following.
like, yeah, there's something about these like genre and like tone switches and like understanding of genre where Julianne Moore, I think, understands that so well. And I don't know if it's because she like grew up an army brat and like traveled. I think she like went to 23 different schools and different towns and just like being able to shape shift and, seeing what
Yeah,
community you're in and like fit in tone wise. And
she is a bit of a shapeshifter.
yeah, I think because he has these films that are so melodramatic or so like campy, but then she like she's just in this world. And I don't think a lot of actors are able to play with the genre like she does.
Yeah, I would
So
imagine it'd be a lot of fun. Like I feel like Todd Haynes, his work is kind of artsy. It's a little different. It's a little on the edge.
definitely.
So,
Yeah, he's always playing with
especially
that.
May, December.
Yeah, yeah. May December, which one of my favorite films of last year or like 2023 was May December.
It's an interesting film too because it handles like a real life situation.
Yeah, it's
But
like based on the Mary Kay Letourneau case.
yeah, so there's that. But it's also its own. It creates its own kind of world
Definitely.
where
Well,
she's actually kind of the crazy person when you think about it.
I think so. Well, is she crazy or is Natalie Portman crazier because she's doing a lot for a TV movie?
That's true. They're both a little crazy actually.
I think
But
so. What I thought really interesting was Julianne Moore. One of her things she invented for her character was the lisp. And she says like in an interview she talks about how she was like, oh, what can I do, like something a little more tangible like a sound or something to convey her being childlike.
yeah, no, that makes sense. That's effective.
I mean, hot dogs, you know.
You're like, oh, that poor woman child up there.
Yeah, like she's suspended in time, so
Yeah,
that's a
that's
cool.
cool. I didn't know that was her choice. I just assumed that was like the director or something. Wow. All right. I like it. Just bringing ideas to the screen. I feel like, let me see if I can find this because I thought, I could have sworn there was something that, like a project coming up. Oh no, this isn't new, I guess. There's a movie called Wonderstruck out there. It was in
There
2017,
is.
apparently. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. It's one of the Todd Haynes Julianne Moore collaborations I haven't seen, but
Yeah.
it has the girl from The Quiet Place. So I don't know.
Ah, I don't know. I want to see them collaborate more. I'm like, what else is out there? Is it just those three
Just
or
just more.
four?
I think Safe,
Safe.
Far from Heaven, Wonderstruck, May December. Maybe
Gotcha.
there's a fifth one. I just can't think of it off the top of
Yeah,
my head. But
I don't know. Also, Julianne Moore does not age, I will say. Like,
no.
I thought that was crazy. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, out seeing her in like Magnolia, and so I'm like, I mean, she looks a little younger, but she still looks pretty much the same.
She does. I mean, I think it's interesting looking at her. I watched this interview she did with Gucci Westman, who founded Westman Atelier, and they were talking about aging and stuff, and maybe just good genes. She like stayed
Maybe.
out of the sun, is what she said in that interview. But I
Uh,
don't know. I feel like she's like one of those actors that just is like really love the craft and like hasn't gotten a lot of flack for it. I feel like some people like Julianne Moore can just like slip through the cracks. Maybe like Cate Blanchett, like I've never thought about her age.
Yeah.
You know, there's just some actors, like real actors, that
Another
I don't
shapeshifter
care like
too.
100%. Maybe that's it, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting how like sometimes we as like people just like glob on to like an actor's age and everything can be
Yeah.
super ageist, but then it's like, you know,
I
some
mean,
people we don't care about their age.
yeah. I mean, we shouldn't really care.
We shouldn't. But you know, it's interesting like who like the media or the public like globs onto as like you're this and then
Yeah.
but maybe that's why it's like a slippery slope. Maybe like you can't say either way. Or maybe this like actually helped Julianne Moore to her benefit that she started when she was 30. So I think once you're an adult and people view you as an adult, then maybe I think
Like
the
it's harder
public.
to transition from when you're younger to like
Mhm,
fully adult because then they're like, oh,
mhm.
you're this age now and you're too old for this role and that role.
I think that like I always am thinking about Alexa Demi because
Yes, I thought about that too.
well because but you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, it really could just be like we got to know her as a teenager or playing a teenage role in Euphoria, and then we found out she, you know, was 30, and it could have just been a coincidence that we haven't seen her like in a lot because
Yeah.
she's not that much older than Zendaya or Sydney Sweeney when you really think about it. But it was just like in the minds, or like when you hear about the 90s and like the 28-year-old playing a high school student on 90210, like
Hmm.
maybe because of that transition, you just question it more or question people's ages. And like, I think there's ways, like, there's PR ways to avoid that. Like, I think we don't talk about
Just don't
Zendaya
mention
like
it.
that. Yeah. But also in Challengers, she played someone older. She played her character was 30 and she said 30. And like, maybe that's it. Maybe you just have to be like adult and then people stop asking your age.
Yeah, it does seem like maybe there's something to that, but it shouldn't be that way.
No.
But
Well, like, you know who, as like younger people, I think have navigated that really well, which we'll talk about them more in the next month. But Margaret Qualley
mm,
and Mikey Madison
yeah,
are just
I could
two
see that.
actors. Like, I don't hear like anything about their personal life really. I don't hear about, you know, they're getting praised for their work on The Substance and Honora, but no one's really caring about their personal life like that. The one takeaway from Julianne Moore, I think, is like stay in your lane and like do good work that you believe in.
Yeah.
And like maybe focusing on like if you're a celebrity, maybe that like changes things versus like an actor. Like, are you an actor or a celebrity? And maybe that's
Uh,
when, you know,
I get what you're saying. She doesn't always pick like a role just for like the celebrity of it all.
yeah, she's not
Yeah.
concerned about that. And to the credit of Margaret Qualley, like a nepo baby who's like just kept her head down and done good work. Like she's never fallen into traps. Like she's been able to grow and like learn and like grow up. Like she never got a big franchise or never, you know, like
Don't
just
sell
reached
out.
super
Is that
heights.
what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Or like, you know, I think sometimes like we're in such a state of like instant gratification and like wanting that I I like seeing these actors come up that have been consistently doing good work and not concerned about the fame or like didn't want to have a social media presence, who
Hmm.
just did their thing
Just do the
and
work. Yeah.
they just do the work. So I think that like the Julianne Moore method works. It's like if you have good work, people aren't going to focus on like they're not going to
Yeah.
ask your lip shade if you're putting out banger performances.
As it should be.
Yeah, a
Like good. It
hundred
should be
percent.
about the work. It should be.
It it should be either that or you
I just
need a
think Julianne Moore is
publicist. That's
gorgeous.
great. Oh, I do too. She looks amazing. She's always
That's
looked
all I'm saying.
amazing.
But yeah, yeah. I feel like there's so much to unpack with that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I like
No, it's
I cut
okay.
that
It's kind of
out.
hard not to. It's okay. I started it.
Oh yeah.
Some choose looks, some I'm just kidding.
No, I know what you mean. Well, anyways.
Anyways,
Do you want to play a game?
I would love to.
So this game is called What More? Mandy
Ooh, okay.
Moore or Julianne Moore? So
Ooh,
I'm going to state a little IMDb trivia fact, and you will tell
okay.
me if it's Julianne or Mandy Moore.
Okay, that should be fun.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, this one's an easy. This is a softball. She's a natural redhead.
Julianne Moore.
Ding, ding, ding. Um, Justin Timberlake scarred her for life by telling her she had big feet in 1999.
Probably Mandy Moore.
That's correct.
I feel like Julianne Moore wouldn't care what Justin Timberlake has to say.
She'd be like, "You ramen haired child."
Yeah, exactly. She'd take him down a peg.
Yes. Okay. Launched her fashion line Emblem in 2007.
I'm gonna guess Mandy Moore with that one because I don't think Julianne Moore has a fashion line, but that's just a guess.
That's correct.
Though if
However,
Julianne Moore had a fashion line, I would be so interested.
agreed. My like favorite Julianne Moore fashion moment. I love the costume design in general in Far From Heaven,
Same. It was
but
so on point.
like this is the best use of a scarf since Taylor Swift's Red. Like that violet scarf
Yes,
is like the supporting character in Far From Heaven.
that's true. Actually, I did think about Taylor Swift in a way because the scarf, like being a way to tie them together. That
It's a
anyway,
metaphor.
it's
It's
a
a
metaphor.
metaphor.
It made sense. I'm like, oh, okay. I see. I
Um,
understand how a scarf can mean so much now. I didn't get it, but now I do.
totally. In 2017, she trekked to the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Probably Julianne Moore. She seems to maybe be fit. The way she was jogging in Still Alice leads me to believe she might be slightly outdoorsy.
That's correct.
Yes.
But I'd love to see Mandy Moore.
I think she could do it if she wanted.
Yeah.
You know, she's young and spread. Why not? Go for it,
I'd
Mandy.
love a two more on Mount Kilimanjaro.
Two mores. Yeah.
Two mores. Yeah. She didn't learn to swim until she was 26 and only learned to drive at age 27.
I feel like you gave this one away to me earlier. So Julianne Moore.
That's correct.
That's wild though, because I mean that is kind of like not I don't want to say that's a relief. It's like it just kind of sometimes like seeing people like be a late bloomer makes you just feel like a little bit better. You're like, oh, okay. It's like more human, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like I really resonate with Julianne Moore being like a self-proclaimed late bloomer as
Yeah.
someone with Francis Ha syndrome.
Francis Ha syndrome. I'm gonna have to see that movie.
Yeah. Can we just call that now like being like I don't know, you just if you know, you know, if you have Francis Ha syndrome or
Francis
not?
Ha syndrome. I definitely do. I'm like, yeah.
Well, we're late to the party, so kind of
That's right.
fits. And Julianne Moore was late to the party
She was.
or right on time. It's your destiny, you know?
Yeah, that's true. She's kind of on time. She's like she was a little late and then
I
like she
think
was
that,
boogieing right
yeah,
away.
I think even if you're late to the party, whenever you arrive, it's your time to be there. You're
It's
the
like
life
the
of the
queen is never
party when
late.
it's your
Everyone
time.
else is simply early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that.
Weird. Were there any other questions?
Um, no. Oh, wait. Yes. Started acting career on a soap opera.
Oh, that's got to be Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
Woo! I
You win.
I didn't think I'd get them all, but
You know, it was the cats
sorry.
like wrap this up. Um, there weren't a lot of facts about Mandy Moore, and I want more. So
Yeah, I know. I try not to look into too much because I knew you were gonna quiz me. But yeah, there's not. Maybe I guess she just keeps things private. That's okay.
she does. So, final question for you, Brie.
Yeah.
Um, well, actually, I have two more questions. I lied.
Okay.
Uh, what Julianne Moore film would you like to live in? Like, what world would you want to be in?
Oh, that's a great question. And that's a bit of a hard question because I feel like they're all a little complicated. And would I be the Julianne Moore in the situation, or is she just in the same world as me?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I,
or
yeah.
either
Whatever
way.
you interpret, either way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking of this because, like, on one hand, I'm like, "Ooh, Far From Heaven." The technique, like, it's so beautiful. It'd be like visually pleasing, but it wouldn't be like my first choice for obvious reasons. Maybe Magnolia. I mean, or the kids are all right. Actually, I mean, that seems like a safe bet. Oh wait. Oh, I don't know if I want to be in the '70s porn industry, but the '70s themselves is a vibe. Like some films, I'm like, oh, I love the aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, most realistically, I mean, I guess the kids are all right. Maybe hooking up with Mark Ruffalo if I have to.
Same. I mean, like the house she has with Annette Bening is gorgeous. And
Yeah. It feels like
yeah.
the safest place. Like I feel like a lot of her other films are like tragic. Or like as much as I love May December, I don't know if I'd want to live in that world. Like it's so strange and like might be a little just a little off-putting or something.
I
Dramatic
agree.
zooms are on you all the time. And
Yes. She's kind of like ostracized too because of the situation of like
yeah.
her being 36 with a 13-year-old and
Yeah, I'm like I
yada
couldn't be
yada.
her friend, at least this way, maybe
Yeah.
there's a potential love triangle situation.
Yeah. Well, like the kids are all right. You're in a nice house in Southern California. You have two
Yeah.
really good kids. Your wife's Annette Benning, who you know will take care of you.
Yeah,
Maybe will be absent, but you know she'll hold down the fort.
exactly. She'll get that
Yeah.
money while you like do your like gardening thing,
Yeah.
your landscaping career. Like that sounds fun. That's something I've
But
always wanted to do. That's my dream.
yeah, you know, Annette Bening is very supportive. Um,
True.
but also Julianne Moore's character in The Kids Are All Right does suffer from Francis Ha syndrome a little
She
bit.
does. Yeah. I'm like that's relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids are all right is my final answer.
Word.
Oh, one thing I was like in that movie, by the way, Shoshana from Girls. That was
Yes.
unexpected. That was like the first thing, like the first scene. She's like right there, and I'm like, "What is this an episode of Girls?" Because
Right.
it felt like it for a second.
Yeah.
Except she's
No,
not the
same.
prude, so that was funny.
She's like the opposite. She's like way too sexual.
Yeah.
Um, I love to see it. Are there any other Julianne Moore films? Because like obviously we couldn't get to all of them, and she's
Yeah.
at 30 plus years now of work. So we couldn't get to all of her films, but which one would you want to see or like need to see?
Well, right now I'm interested in one that sort of just came out, like The Room Next Door. I'm like, what is that? Like with Tilda Swinton. I'm very intrigued
Yes.
by that. Trying to think if there's anything else. Let's see. I mean, I'd like to see Crazy Stupid Love.
That's a fun romp.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of at the moment. I mean, I know she was in like The Big Lebowski. I've seen that movie, but I don't remember her that much in it. Like, I feel like it's
The Big
more about the
Lebowski
dude.
is all about the dude, but she plays
Yeah.
Maud Lebowski, his daughter. Um,
Uh,
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of The Big Lebowski.
yeah, it was okay. Like, I saw it. I was like, all right. But I wasn't, I don't know. They're bowling, and it's all I really remember. And he talks to the camera.
Yeah. I think it's like a generational thing. Like I know like some people are really like they live by the dude and it's
The
something that like
rules.
yeah, like I've never I don't know. That's interesting.
What about you? Is there any Julianne Moore film that you'd like to see that you
I
haven't?
I really want to see Safe. It came
Yeah.
out in 1995. It's like her first collaboration with Todd Haynes. I'd love to. I saw it a long time ago, but I really want to revisit I'm Not There
Mm.
from 2007. It's the Bob Dylan biopic. I
Oh,
don't know
wait. Is
what.
this Kate Blanchett, Bob
Yeah.
Dylan?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that's Todd Haynes.
Yeah. So I'd love to revisit that one. But yeah, These are my picks. I really want to see Safe, the movie that
Yeah.
started it all. I'm trying to think of any other ones that I haven't seen of Julianne Moore, and I'm like, I gotta see it. I I'm intrigued by An Ideal Husband.
Mm.
Speaking of Kate Blanchett and like Rupert Everett from like the 90s, I'd love to watch that. Julianne Moore's in that. So
Ooh.
I'd love to see more
Okay.
1999 Julianne Moore or like The End of the Affair. I'd love to see that finally. So
All right. So we still got some to kind of check out.
there's
We
always
haven't seen it
more
all. There's
and
always
more
more. More,
and
more.
more. How do you
How
like
you
it?
like it? How you like it? Uh,
But before we wrap
uh,
up, anything else on Julianne Moore?
um, I feel like Julianne Moore is getting her flowers, and I love to see that. I think her career is very interesting, the way it's progressed, and I just enjoy, like, I don't think I've seen a performance of hers that I haven't enjoyed.
No, I love Julianne Moore. She's one of my favorite actors. Uh, I'm so glad we got to take this deep dive because, like, I think she's truly like an actor's actor, and
Yeah,
she's not afraid to take risks and expand her palette. Like, she's just like fearless.
I love that.
Yeah, but that's all and
This,
more.
we don't have any more to say. Thank you guys for listening.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.